Here's what you'll need for today's recipe: a head of organic celery, some medjool dates, lemons, lucuma powder, raw pecan butter, fennel seed, oregano, garlic, pepper, cayenne pepper, red pepper, and paprika. I always recommend using organic whenever possible. But even if you don't normally get organic products, I at least highly suggest that you get organic celery. Celery is one of the vegetables that's the most heavily contaminated with pesticides, and there's really not a huge price difference in the organic versus the non-organic. So I think it would be very, very beneficial, even if you don't normally use organic, to at least get organic celery for this recipe. So I went ahead and chopped up the celery, washed it, and I'm including even the middle pieces. Some people throw these out, but I find that they have a really nice flavor to them, so I include all of it. So just go ahead and add this. I went ahead and removed the pits from the date. I'll just add that. Went ahead and put in 3 heaping tablespoons of lucuma powder. This is raw lucuma powder, and it's a fruit. It has quite a bit of health benefits, and this is organic and raw. This will thicken it into a more creamy texture. Go ahead and use your strainer and add your lemons. For the raw pecan butter, you go ahead and stir it when you first open it because the oil naturally separates. And then I'm going to be adding in 5 tablespoons. Now this is meant to be a sort of dip and more decadent. One of the really nice things about this recipe is it's low fat, so you can have quite a generous portion. For example, this recipe makes about 4 cups, and you could easily have half of that, which is 2 cups, and still have a low-fat dressing. It actually averages about 78 calories from fat per 2 cups of this dressing. In comparison, something like ranch for 78 calories of fat would be about 4.5 tablespoons. And of course, plant fat is much healthier for the body and absorbed differently than animal fat, but I won't get into that on this video. But just know that this recipe is still low in fat and healthy plant fats. The fennel seed, I use a tablespoon, and these are whole fennel seeds. They're wonderful for digestion, preventing gas, anti-inflammatory, any digestive disorders. They're really great. Menstrual cramps, things like that. So, but they are pretty potent. So for that, I did measure out the amount, which is going to be a tablespoon, which is and I actually do a pretty heavy amount of the oregano. And garlic, some paprika, I do lighter on the paprika than the other spices. And depending on how spicy you want it, this really gives it that sort of taco sauce taste. But it does have a spice to it. So I find it better to just add little bits and taste it rather than just dumping everything in all at once. And a little bit of regular pepper. You can also, if you eat salt, you can add in some Himalayan salt. But keep in mind that the celery has natural sodium, and it's a lot better to get natural sodium from Whole Foods. So you pretty much have enough with the celery. and just a little bit of cayenne pepper, just a pinch, because we don't want it to overpower the flavor. If you use too much, it kind of takes away from the flavor of the other foods. And a little bit of black pepper. All right, and now I'm just gonna add a little bit of water to start, just to get it to mix, and I might add a little bit as we go along. It really depends on the amount of water in the celery. Okay. Let's go ahead and start the blender. This recipe was inspired by Tanny Raw. Tanny is a raw vegan who has a YouTube channel where she shares lots of delicious raw vegan recipes, and she has some really creative videos on using celery as the base for raw vegan dressings on her channel, Tanny Raw. I just tasted it, and I'm adding some more oregano, more garlic, and it does need a little bit more spice, so we're adding a little more red pepper. But again, try it and see how you like it. Add to taste. This is the creamy consistency that you'll be looking for. Remember that these recipes and dressings are raw. They're raw so that the nutrients are intact, because cooking and heating food can destroy the nutrients and energy that is in the food. So just remember that when you're blending these recipes, the goal is not to cook or overheat them, but to just blend until smooth. So around 45 seconds to a minute is around the average, and it's okay if it gets a little bit warm, but you're just not wanting to overheat the food. You can add a bit of red pepper flakes at the end and some cayenne pepper if you would like it to have a little bit more spice, or I personally enjoy putting red pepper and paprika on top. I also highly suggest putting the dip into the fridge for at least an hour before serving. This will help the dip to thicken, and it becomes much more flavorful after being in the fridge. And you can have this delicious dip with baked potato wedges and fresh pico de gallo. I really love this dip. In my opinion, it sort of tastes like a taco sauce. It's amazing in salads, on raw vegan tacos. I like it in lettuce wraps. You can also incorporate it into your cooked meals. It's a great dip for baked potato wedges, and put some pico de gallo mixed into it, really flavorful. I've also made recipes before with stuffed bell pepper, using this as a sort of cream sauce. So just go ahead and get creative with it and enjoy.